Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today. Live Music Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jake Gill. Today we're JD Chapman. He's from the Colorado Kids Ranch. JD, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, buddy, for having me.
JD, give us a little background on you and your family. Where'd you guys grow up, and talk a little bit about your ranch?
Yeah, so I just want to say, I really appreciate videos you're putting out, and I think it's going to be super helpful to people. And when I look at some of these videos, I'm just seeing like maybe how we could bring something to the conversation. But our background was I started out in North Carolina, grew up there, went in the military, got out and got an education in Virginia. And then part of that starts to play a role in this whole festival piece. But we actually moved. I did IT for a number of years. My undergrad was in business, and then IT was booming. So I went where the money was. But honestly, that wasn't where my best skill set was. And then when we moved out here, to Colorado, we actually moved out here to get a degree in counseling, which I loved counseling and I thought it was going to play a role, but honestly, it ended up playing a role in management. That's the doors that open for me, right? Sometimes you just go through the doors that are in front of you. And so that played a big role in being able to set up the festivals and work with people, and just, that whole psychology piece played a big role. But the business and psychology and some other things really played a role in being able to set up a few different events over the past few years.
All right, let's talk about your big one, the one that you started first. That was a pumpkin patch, right?
Correct.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about that specific event for our listeners out there. What is that? I always ask these four questions. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? Let's start with looks. What does it look like?
So there's two different ways people start pumpkin patches. One is primarily they get handed the family farm and they're already like growing pumpkins or can grow pumpkins, and they just try to invite people in to pick them up. We kind of came from a different angle. We had a lot of background in kids programs and schools and teaching and stuff like that. So we saw some pumpkin patches where they were more of a play area. So a lot of people think that we actually grow the pumpkins here. We don't. We just bring them in from big farms that do, they're professional farms that do a great job of growing the pumpkins. We can bring a huge variety. So we bring those to the Denver and Colorado Springs area, but we set up a play area primarily. So people come in to pay admission for a play area. They get to have a good time with their family. They get to experience a lot of different things that are fun together, and then they buy a pumpkin on the way out. So that's kind of the scheme of what we do.
Okay, all right. So that answers the look part. What does it smell like? What does the ranch smell like during that time?
Well, sometimes it smells like animals, so we have a few of those around. But yeah, we really are depending on what part you're in. There's things that you enjoy smelling, like funnel cakes and hay mazes and straw pyramids and stuff like that. So it's kind of I would say, we're trying to give an aurora of kind of a farm to them so that they can walk away feeling like they came out to the country and had a good time there.
Okay, all right. We got the smell part. You guys have food? Do you guys offer vendors or anything during your times there?
Yeah, I think that's an important part of the equation. Is there's so many pieces that if you're setting up a festival and you're trying to do it right, what are the things you need to keep in mind, and what things do you do well? And so I think part of the equation for us was it's important is my wife and I have a lot of uh, characteristics that complement each other. So when it comes to these kind of things with our education and background, those work together. If you don't have those in your skill set, you might want to consider maybe how you can bring those in through friends and stuff. So for some of the pieces of the puzzle, whether it was pumpkins or whether it was food, whether it was just snacks, some of those things are things that we've tried to hire out in the past, and it always seemed like it worked out better when we did it. So when we took it over and we ran it, it seemed like it was more profitable. We were able to offer more, and so those are things you just have to test and see if they really fit your skill sets. But uh, even with the pumpkin patch and with other events we've done, we did a Christmas light show for a while. You go and you look and see what people are doing and how they're doing it, and you study it and see if it actually not just because other people are doing it, can you do it, but if other people are doing it, does it fit your skill set, and can you bring that to the table? So that's important because a lot of people try things that they're really not in their skill set, and then sometimes they fail at those things. But we've got you've got all kinds of regulations you need to follow for food, and so we're trying to be under some and not try to eclipse others, that are involve a mandatory kitchen and stuff like that. So we're a mobile unit, and we just sell basic things like barbecue, corn dogs, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, so talk about a few of the other events. Any of your events, do you guys have you guys structured anything like an art and craft fair where vendors are there? Do you guys have entertainment throughout the year? Talk about those aspects.
No, so the community we're in has some limitations, So for sound and music, we haven't really been able to get to a point where we could have something indoor because we have really a suburb very close. We're in a subdivision kind of, so that there are some limitations there. But I think we can offer some things when you're thinking about like how to do a festival, or where to do a festival. So sometimes, what can you bring to the table that there's actually going to fit? There's a lot of places that would like a pumpkin patch, but they're honestly not in a demographic or a population zone that would support an income. So we want to bring, like, one of our goals and missions is to bring a place where people can have joy and stuff like that. But there's got to be an income piece of it.
Yep.
10 minus 12 is still minus 2. And
Yep.
as much as you want to bring joy to people, you've got to have the finances have to look right, and you have to be in the right demographic. So we're between Denver and Colorado Springs. It works well for us. We can reach South Denver, bring a few people down in Colorado Springs, and we're just for those other events, we've tried things that didn't always fit. Something like a square peg in a round hole, but we've done a tulip festival, and that went well. Unfortunately, those tulips bloom just after Mother's Day here because we're at 7,500 feet. So that's a little bit of a challenge. But we did a watermelon festival for a few years, and it was fun, and people came to it. But honestly, it wasn't growing. It wasn't getting more traction every year.
Yep.
So we decided not to continue that. Were we breaking even? Yes. Were we making a profit, something we thought could grow? No. So, and other things like the light show, the Christmas light show, we went and studied other light shows. We saw pieces that we could do better. For the things that we couldn't do, we talked to companies that could do it. And then we did that, and it was profitable. We enjoyed it. We did it at a different venue. We actually did it at a campground for a while. And so at other venues that were public venues, we knew that could bring people in. So
Yeah,
current
no, that makes
property
sense. I think you're in a rare space in that you're acting as a for-profit entity, correct?
That's right. So we did create a 501c3. So we have something called Johnny Pumpkin Seed. Pumpkins aren't something you can really take to the children's hospital, but since we were working with kids, we wanted to find a way to reach out to kids. So we started Johnny Pumpkin Seed, and that looks to help families with special needs and foster kids.
Yep.
And so we do have that portion, but yeah, it's definitely has to be a for-profit if you're going to grow, because in our case, we weren't handed a farm, we weren't handed a ranch, and so when we started, we just rented property and started that way, and we had to set it up.
No, there are challenges. Yeah, there are challenges as it comes through. A lot of nonprofit that we interview and talk with have the opportunity to build sponsorships and endorsements and donations, carry those and put them into the black in a lot of things. Now, you mentioned something earlier that both you and your wife are counselors, correct? And I want to share something with you because something was triggered in me this weekend at a show, and I was just personally thanked for bringing people together. And I didn't really know at the time what they were speaking to me and what they were. You disappeared on me. Here we go. Hang on just real quick. There's this amazing new AI feature that I'm just in love with right now called Chat GCP. And I simply just asked this computer for evidence of positive results from social interaction. Let me share this one with you. Number 7 was a study Chicago Institute of Psychology did that showed social interaction and support play a protective role in the face of stress and adversity, helping individuals better cope and recover from challenging of life's events. And they documented many studies of earthquakes, school shootings, different things. And they watched the people that were involved in social events and social interactions recovered substantially better in a mental health standpoint and in a physical standpoint. So whether you're doing actual counseling or not, there may be a reason why this pumpkin patch has really started out for you and became vital. And so it's encouraged that from me. And I want you guys to keep going and doing what you're doing. And profitability is a factor there for sure. But maybe you're doing more therapy than what you know you're doing, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we get feedback on that all the time. I think it's super important, especially in this new kind of world we're in, where there's so much available online. You know, we're in a military zone here, and I had a guy from Fort Carson who was a part of the force there, came up and he said, you know, after doing time overseas, to be able to come back and bring my family to a beautiful place and just spend the afternoon with them, enjoy. And I mean, he was almost in tears. You know, he said it meant the world to him. And we've had, especially through the Johnny Pumpkin Seed program, we've had people in tears before just because of how much it meant to them to be able to. And it's simple, you know. On one end, we're just saying, hey, we're just providing you a space to do it. But on the other hand, it's so important, I think, compared to the options that are out there now. There's not a lot of places, unless you're going to go to Disneyland. I mean, how many places can you go to and take your family and spend a day and enjoy, you know, some time outside with them?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. Well, hopefully that motivation continues on for you guys. JD, how do people find out more about the Colorado Kids Ranch?
So ColoradoKidsRanch.com is our website. We'll have a few tabs on there for some of the different things we do. And yeah, I can definitely, we got our email address, hello@ColoradoKidsRanch.com. And you can just, if you have questions also about setting up the events and the research behind them and stuff like that, just let me know and I could maybe help you out with what you're trying to do.
Yep, perfect. I appreciate it, JD. Thanks for being on with us today, man. I appreciate it.
Well, baby,